Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It feels like we are waiting an entire eternity between games this week. It seems like the travel has been going pretty rough for some of the beat reporters and some of our friends that have gone from Florida to Edmonton. But we are here. We are back. It is Wednesday's edition of Morning Cup of Hockey, presented by Betway. If you're going to place a bet on Betway. Please play responsibly. And remember, you must be 19 years of age or older. That's Colby, Cohen. I'm Jonny, Lazarus. We have John Buccigross coming on the show today as a guest. A lot of things to get into with us, Bucci, about his thoughts on the playoffs, and then we'll preview the upcoming NHL draft as well and get into some other topics around the NHL. So a lot of different things to get into. I already see MYR Marine has taken the bait in the chat. I'm just messing around with everybody thinking that Draisaitl should have gotten a 5-game suspension. Obviously, he got nothing. Colby, were you surprised by that, or what was your vibe with the I
said situation? I said it on our show. That was not a suspendable hit. And people are angry about it, and everybody sees it a way that they see it. But again, having played this game at the highest level you can play this game at, it just doesn't strike me as something. It's a bad outcome. But to me, it was nothing more than a 2-minute penalty.
And what about Carrick getting a little fine? Nothing.
Yeah,
too crazy.
Listen, that's a different play. That's a purposeful play. That's $2,500. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's not waste any time. Our friend John Buccigross is here, but before we bring him on, just want to say this interview is presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at parasso-usa.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And if I remember correctly, I think Bucci has a nice beard going right now, actually, if we can bring him on.
I was going to say, Bucci could use a little Parasso. Maybe we got to get him a care package from our friends at Parasso, because he does usually have a nice little facial hair setup going, Butchie. It's always looking fresh, especially in the summer. How are you this morning, pal? Where are you this morning?
I am in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the Pilgrims landed, and we've had a great stretch of weather, and I'm enjoying America's independence.
It has been a nice couple weeks here, but have you been enjoying the series so far? I know it feels like it's been so many days between games. This 2-day gap has been longer than what you'd expect, but eager to get back at it tomorrow. But what do you make of so far the first 2 games?
Yeah, Edmonton surprised me in game 1. They looked great. I thought maybe their speed would catch Florida off guard. Teams with that kind of attacking speed, a little different style compared to the Rangers and even the Bruins. So I think maybe that caught them off guard. Plus, Edmonton checks really well. Yeah. But overall, they roll them and they move and they play a pretty tough game and they go fast. So I think that caught Florida off guard game 1. Try to figure out what's the best way to defend themselves and then go from look. Almost series establishing type of game, and you wonder if that's how the series is going to look for most of the time. Edmonton's scratching and clawing to try to get a goal, and if they do, to try to get the next goal. and they couldn't get that 2-0 lead.
Yeah, we're
stranglehold on the series.
We're losing your audio a little bit in and out, Butchie. It looks like maybe it's clearing up right now because your picture just got nice and clear.
Good.
Or at least
bad Wi-Fi over there
clear.
in Plymouth. Oh, and it's gone again.
What did you think of the whole Draisaitl-Barkov thing? Because this has created massive discourse on the internet. And there's just such a wide variety of opinions about it. And if you don't agree with the person on your left or your right, you must not know anything or what you're talking about. But what was your take on that situation?
You're also cutting in and out, so I don't know whose fault this is right now. But I heard Draisaitl and Barkov. But yeah, I mean, obviously Leon was looking to make a destructive hit. Who knows? I don't think it would have been a regular season suspension either. But hello. But so it was the thing. It was a good thing. Edmonton tried to muck it up, try to get this series going. They'll try to do it again, I'm sure. Do it. I mean, this is the playoffs. You do, drastic measures.
Bucci, we might need you to reconnect here because the audio is definitely having some trouble. So we might have to
let's
get you out of here and get you back in. Yeah, all right. We'll bring him back in. I know the audio was a bit of an issue there. We haven't had any audio troubles in a long time, so we'll knock on wood and hope that this gets fixed. Vic will have Bucci figured out.
The picture, his picture was super pixelated.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was connecting just from data instead of Wi-Fi, or we'll try to get him back in, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We obviously have a number of things to talk about, but we really should talk to our pals at Pro Rosso about getting Butchie hooked up with some products to see, because nobody's a better ambassador, especially in the game of hockey. I feel like people actively seek out, Butchie's opinions, Butchie's tweets, and all that stuff. But kind of interesting to hear his take a little bit. And I know
he's in and out.
his take was kind of coming in and out,
yeah.
But
also we apologize for that to anyone listening on the audio only. Trying to figure it out right now, but continue.
Yeah, it's a good call, but you think about the fact that he thought there looked like there was some destructive behavior within that hit. And again, it's funny because I keep going back to the fact that outcome, brutal, but I don't know, like it didn't look as destructive to me as it did to most. Like I don't get that feeling from it. And it's so interesting. And I commented on a lot of people's comments yesterday that you left. What?
Comparing the hits.
Well, just that people left on the tweet and they left on that. And like, the thing is like, we all get to see these things differently. I mean, you could put 10 people around the room and all 10 people could see it a little bit differently. And, people have different viewpoints based on different experiences that they have. And that's no different than basically anything else in the world. Like if you ask one mom, how do you do this with your 1-year-old versus another mom, every mom is going to have a different of opinion. Mm-hmm. So, what I'll say as we patch Butchie back into the show here is people need to not be as angry. It's okay to disagree.
You're telling people to not be angry about people?
It's okay to disagree. It's okay that we may not see something the same way.
Bucci, tell me you're hearing this. Tell me your audio is good and you're hearing Colby say
it's okay to disagree, Johnny. And yes, you do look a lot clearer now, Butchie. So I think we should be good to go.
Good. So I turned the phone off and on. That's worked since 1974. Unplug it, plug it back in. It's whatever it is. There's science behind that.
It's like a dial-up modem. So we're talking about the beginning of this series, and I think the big question that everybody has now is that can the Edmonton Oilers climb back into this series going back to Edmonton? And yesterday I said to Frank on Daily Faceoff Live when he asked me what my number out of 10 of concern was. And I said a 6 or a 7 because you haven't lost on home ice yet, and game to game can look very different in the playoffs. So what would you say your feeling on this series is? Is this going to end with the broomsticks, or will we see a little extension and the series tighten up?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably be around 7 to 7.5 to be a concern that Edmonton can make this a series. Home ice hasn't mattered a lot in this postseason. So maybe that adage was formulated back in the day when, home ice was maybe more 65, 70% success rate, because now we're below 50%. I just think the way Florida kind of found their game and attack, that's going to be the way they do this the rest of the way. But the big thing for Edmonton is pretty simple. They have to score 1 or 2 power play goals a game. They just have to. And then they got to try to find one more 5-on-5 goal and try to win 3-2. To me, that's like the Edmonton formula. Is going to be something like that. We could get a crazy game where someone's tired and mistakes, and Florida's not up to it on that particular night, and maybe things could pop a certain way. And they could get a 5-2 win or something. I guess that's possible. But it's really going to come down to, now that Florida can smell it, I think this is a desperate team that has a lot of focus. And now they're up 2-0. They know tomorrow night is really a game 7. That's a game 7 mentality for Edmonton, and it should be for Florida, because if they win, they're already probably going to win. They're probably not going to lose 4 out of 5 to anybody. Mm-hmm. But they win game 3, then they're almost definitely almost certainly probably going to win. So game 3 is like a game 7. That's why I really hope I hope Edmonton wins, because then game 4 becomes a game 7 as well. Edmonton still has to win. They're not going to come back from 3-1. And then that sets up game 5. And game 5 is not a game 7, because it doesn't really matter who. You can come back. You can lose that game and still win 2 in a row. And then game 6 becomes a game 7. And then, of course, game 7 is a game 7. So we're
on the same wavelength here.
So, yeah, we have a chance for 4 game 7s, but Edmonton has to pick up their end of the bargain and win game 3. And like I said, that starts with a big-time power play goal. And for them, a 5-on-5 goal. Obviously, you'd love, a bottom 6 guy to get it, perhaps. But, Leon and Connor to do something and shoot the puck.
There's the social clip, Vic. Is this the first Stanley Cup final in history with 4 game 7s?
4. And
that's the caption we're rolling with. I love that. That's something I would say for sure.
So look, we've definitely talked about the series quite a bit. We brought you on here, Butchie, to talk to you about some of the other things going on around the NHL. And it does sound like there was some, I wouldn't call it breaking news, but David Quinn officially announced by Pittsburgh on Twitter. Once it comes from the team account, that means that the paperwork has been crossed. The press release has gone out. A move that makes a lot of sense. I mean, these guys are BU teammates, friends, Boston guys. Quinny is known to be this really good defensive teacher, had a great relationship with Erik Karlsson in San Jose, a great relationship. And look, to me, Pittsburgh got better today. Like, I think that's a great hire.
That's good, but funny. I didn't think about all that stuff, Colby. I just saw, in fact, when I was rebooting, I saw the email when I rebooted my phone that they got hired. I didn't even know that was a whisper. I'm surprised I didn't hear it from either you or McDonough or somebody, but I didn't even hear a whisper. But yeah, you're right. The defensive, because he's been a head coach for so long, I forgot about his focus as a defenseman. He'll run the D in Pittsburgh. They needed that. There was an opening there as they made the switch on the bench. And not only Erik Karlsson, but really some of those young guys, because that's what the Penguins need to lift some of their young guys to play better defensively. And like you said, Karlsson had a great year under Quinny. That was his job, to go to San Jose to build his value, to trade him. That's a big reason why that was Quinny's job with Erik Karlsson. And so that was his job, and now he was traded, and here he is back with them. Now his job is obviously to get him to play at that high level, to win, and to make the playoffs, and to win a playoff round or 2, or how many they can get with Sidney Crosby in this group's final act. So yeah, I think it's a good hire for Quinny, a little closer back to the East Coast, back to his Rhode Island home, and working with a fellow BU Terry. In fact, remember when Jack Parker retired, that was obviously a coveted job. Quinny wanted it. Mike Sullivan wanted it. John Hines wanted it. It's just amazing. And now, those 3 guys as of last year were all head coaches in the league, all went for the BU job, and Quinny got it. And so now they're working together again. They sound a lot alike. They have a similar Boston accent.
They look alike.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good looking bench right there.
And so it's a loud projecting bench behind there with plenty of volume. So it's going to be fun. Good to have Quinny back, and I think he'll enjoy Pittsburgh. He'll love that atmosphere, and he'll love the town.
I kind of have a two-parter, Bucci, just building off that a little bit, like sticking with the theme here, but also looking a little bit ahead. You know, Macklin Celebrini kind of came out with comments that he was disappointed that David Quinn got fired by San Jose, and they haven't hired a new coach yet. Is there still like any world where you can see Macklin Celebrini going back to BU after being drafted? Or is it just he's going number one and then he's going to the NHL?
Yeah, I see zero chance of that happening. I think the Sharks will make their decision pretty soon on their head coach. I'd put my money on Warsofsky if I had to bet a paycheck. That'd be my guy. I think they're going to hire. But I don't know what they're waiting for. I really don't. But, we'll see. Other guys have looked into that job. Jeff Blashill has looked into that job. I kind of hope Jeff gets Columbus. I think that'd be a good fit for him. I think that's I think that all works with what Waddell's looking for and what he likes. And then we'll see. I don't know what kind of relationship or what Don has in mind. He already might have someone in mind. I don't think he'll keep the current staff. I don't know, but I don't think so. So, yeah, I don't think Celebrini will return to BU. I really don't. It would be certainly an outlier. It'd be cool because it would be different. And his dad is a performance coach. And if his dad really believes that's the best thing. And I always say, like I tell Colby.
You advocate for it typically, right? To do that second year?
Well, you don't go back for a year. You go back for 7 months. You're not going back for a year. You're doing your normal summer training anyway, right? And then you just go back, and then you either go from October to March in college, then you go turn pro, or you turn pro right away. So really, you're only looking for 5-6 months you're going back to school. You're not going back to school for a year. It's 5-6 months. And that little 5-6 months can just make things a little better. You grow up a little bit more, because obviously every 6 months, when you're older, it's the same 6 months almost every time. When you're that age, 6 months is a big difference,
Look, we saw it with Cutter Gauthier, the difference between year one and year two. I mean, it was night and day difference just with his, maturity in his body, in his strength, in his game. So I'm with Butchie, Johnny. I would say that there's less than a 1% chance that Macklin Celebrini returns to BU, which
I think he should, though. I think he should.
Yeah,
no, I like it because guys can then get in a leadership role. So many guys like Macklin Celebrini, he's always playing up. He's playing up. He's playing up. He's never a captain. He's never a leader in the room because he's always so young. He's always looking, respecting everybody. And I think that's why so many of these kids become timid. Like this new generation of athletes, these 18, 19-year-old hockey players, they come out and they're all so quiet. They don't have a lot of, and that's because they're always young. The best players are so young and they want to respect everybody, which is a good trait to have. It's a good character trait we can all have. Just, slow your roll for a second, but they never get to swell their chest and really create a personality. And that's why I think that Gauthier kind of did that this year. He was kind of the lead dog, where Smith and Perreault and Leonard could kind of follow a little bit. They had their own plenty of confidence, but that's what I like about so many times. These kids play up their whole life and they never develop really these leadership and character personality traits to make them more fun and interesting.
Well, like what a difference it was when we were doing our meetings this year and we were talking to Gauthier and look, Smith, Leonard, Perreault, Fowler, like they were not scared to have conversations with us, but there was a huge difference in the comfortability of what Cutter Gauthier was willing to say to us than basically anybody else at the entire tournament. And for us, it was gold. I mean, other people may have issue, but for us, it was gold.
Right, exactly. And but again, with Celebrini winning the Hobie, he did so much. But yeah, no, I'd love for him to go back and, like I said, 6 more months and try to win a national championship and enjoy college for 1 more year. There's nothing like it. Almost 95% of them wish they had gone back for that extra year. It's probably like a secret fantasy. It's like, I wish, like even Eichel, I'd go back for 1 year.
He wanted to. Jack wanted to go back, but once you get drafted in that spot, it's just so difficult. The pressure that mounts on you being, when you're labeled a generational player, right? Which they're not always labeled that as number 1 and number 2 picks. It's not every year, but that year, Jack Eichel was labeled as a generational talent behind Connor McDavid. And it's not, I don't think it's going to happen. I think even Jay Pandolfo has said, like, he is ready to go do it. And we're
Right.
supporting that. And so, I know there were some comments that came out of the combine, but if you actually watched that was a small clip. Like they only printed basically the response. They didn't actually print the question. And so the response they printed was very misleading based on the question. The question was, if you were to go back, what could it do for your game? So then he went into a response of what it could do for his game if he went back. They took that quote, they ran with it. And then I'm getting text messages from people like, from every walk of hockey saying, well, Celebrini's coming back. And I'm like, I wouldn't get your hopes too high on that. But, look, we're talking about Celebrini and these star players. And I think that segues us into a topic, Butchie, that, I wanted to broach with you because I've seen you doing, publicity for it on social media, and that's the World Cup. Or not the World Cup, Four Nations Challenge, right? And I think one of the big questions that everybody wants to talk about right now is this going to be the best American team, most talented, deepest, a team that finally could really give Canada a run for their money in a gold medal game? And I'm wondering, because I'm sure you're going to be involved in the broadcast in some way, shape, or form. You did the World Cup last time. What's your take on this, where the U.S. team is at, and where do you see them going with this roster?
Yeah, I mean, certainly they've been obviously back in '94, that was an amazing World Cup victory for the U.S. and that team was so much fun. Again, we talk about personality. I'm just thinking about the personalities on that team. I mean, you talk about extroverts everywhere, so fun, so interesting, really helped the popularity of the sport. With that, again, just the personality of it. It's one thing to win, but you like to win with interesting people. Like the '04 Red Sox with Poppy and Manny and Johnny Damon. That it just adds more to it, than just winning. It's not all about just winning. It's the personalities, it's the fun, it's the drama. That's what makes it even more. That's what makes it intoxicating. That's what we want. But yeah, no, for sure. And the U.S. has been close for, obviously we go to overtime in Vancouver. You're just one goal away, one shot away from beating Sidney Crosby and Canada in Vancouver. That one still hurts a lot. And of course, Salt Lake City, obviously you're on home soil. You want to get that done. So we've always certainly have been close. But obviously the scales have really tipped in a big way now, and they'll continue to tip that way as Canada continues to get lower participation from youth playing hockey. And it just seems like, their country's changing so quickly, so fast. You just wonder if how much it's going to affect their hockey. But no, the U.S. is the USA Hockey, the way they've really been trying to produce hockey players starting 10, 15 years ago. And when my kid was 10, 11 years old, I remember them, Brett's 31 now. So that's 20 years ago when they really couldn't, why is Sweden producing all these amazing, talented players? They're a tiny country. We have 300 million. We have 300 million. We should be doing a better job. What are they doing? Oh, well, they're practicing more than they play when they're 7 years old. They're not playing 6 games a week and practicing once. And so they started to understand the small ice drills and all that stuff. So it's starting to pay off now with, a generation of incredibly talented American players. And yeah, I can't wait to start to kind of, get the piece of paper out and pick the lines and pick the teams. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll see how it all, we don't know how these things feel or look until we do it. So will this really feel like a big time type Olympic event? Will it be, will it be a tier down? We don't know until we actually see the uniforms, feel the games in Montreal and Boston.
The uniforms is something I'm curious about too. I think those are going to be. I mean, I hope they kind of make it like a little bit more new and modern kind of uniforms. Not. I mean, I do like the classic USA Hockey stuff, but it's not the Olympics.
They'll do different things to sell jerseys. So just there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, and Colby, I think look, and people in the chat are talking about the fact that not having Russia there means it's not best on best, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with those comments. We don't need to get into the geopolitical side of all this. I do agree with all you though. I don't I know the Olympics are the year after. I hope Russia's playing, whether it's under their own flag or whether it's under some weird name that they use. But I do hope that those guys get to play. Punishing Nikita Kucherov and Alexander Ovechkin and some of these other guys who live here, who are embedded in our culture, not getting to play, and all you're doing is hurting the fans of the game. That's all you're doing.
They should be there. Russia should be playing in the World Junior, and they should be playing in this. They should be playing in all this stuff.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I'm just curious, off the top of your head, Bucci, our producer Vic has notified us that on June 28th, they released the first 6 players for each team.
Oh, wow.
Curious who your first 6 would be for the U.S. team.
Wow. I mean, certainly
not to throw you on the hot seat here, but
no, it's not. Well, certainly, Matthews, Eichel as your 1-2 centers probably is obviously a really good place, a good place to start. You need a goaltender, and certainly Jeremy Swayman, I think, has proven to be he's ahead of the American class now. I really think he is. It's just off the playoffs. Maybe it was him or Ottinger, but now it's probably going to be Swayman.
Let me ask you before you even finish. Who gets left out now on goal? Because you've got Hellebuyck, right? Demko, Swayman, and Ottinger. Who's going to be the odd man out of that group for these next 2 international tournaments? And I know the Olympics is a ways away and a lot can happen, but one of the best 8 goalies in the world or 10 goalies in the world are not going to be on playing in these tournaments.
Yeah, well, Swayman's definitely, the way he played in the playoffs, is now the number 1 American goaltender. He goes in as number 1. Obviously, Hellebuyck really struggled last couple of times. Ottinger was good. So I would say right now it's going to be Swayman, Ottinger, probably 1-2. Even though Hellebuck's going to win the Vezina, probably. But it's the way they play. So I think Swayman will be the goalie they pick. Plus, he's such a popular, likable guy.
You speak about personality, right? Like he's the personality you want to win with.
That and again, just in terms of your initial question, the initial 6 you want to unveil, you want that to be kind of sexy, kind of sizzle, right? And he does that. He's an original 6 player, very popular, great personality. So, like I said, Matthews, Eichel, him, and then from there, you're looking for D-men. They're probably one defenseman. Who's your number 1 defenseman pick amongst American-born? Adam Fox, probably Fox running the power play and.
Fox or McAvoy. Probably
yeah.
Fox or McAvoy. And
I think
look,
you got to go Fox with this Norris Trophy under his belt, right?
It also depends on the political side of it, because there is politics involved in hockey. Like, do they take 2 of the Hughes brothers and it's more just, to make them smile and full well knowing that Fox will be on the team and McAvoy. I mean, we know what a lot of this team will look like. And I think the same thing goes with the Tkachuk brothers. Like, do they get added in the first 6? I mean, we know those 2 brothers are playing. It's not even, a question. And then, where does Patrick Kane fall within this group of people? I mean, who's been, the GOAT for a while. So I think it's going to bring a lot of interesting stories. And I will look forward to, Bucci, when you start laying these out on Twitter, because you do have a history of calling these things early. You do. You can look at articles that you wrote 10 and 15 years ago about guys who are still playing, and they're all creeping towards a lot of those predictions and those projections that you've made. So there's going to be some good intrigue there. And I think, for me, one of the biggest areas that U.S. has a big advantage on Canada in this tournament is going to be in goal. Like, I don't know. I think there's way more question marks, than answers in goal for Canada right now.
But you can only play one at a time. So if you got one guy who's hot, it's it's not like you have to fill a team core of 3 lines. So you need the one. But Matthew Tkachuk's a guaranteed first 6 guy for sure, no doubt. So if you go, Eichel, Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk as your 3 forwards, and then if you want 2D and Swayman as your goalie, whether it be Fox and, like you said, maybe Quinn Hughes, or I would say because Quinn just won is going to win the Norris probably, so you get a fresh trophy out of him. You might get a Stanley Cup champion in Tkachuk, the last 2 from Eichel and Tkachuk, and then of course Matthews, the best goal scorer on the planet right now. That'd be a cool 6 that I would probably go with right now.
Here's the question though, Bucci: does Patrick Kane fit in on this roster?
Yeah, I think there's I'll do this today. Maybe this is a good. It's a beautiful day.
We got a project for you today.
Yeah, because you got to figure out he has to play with a certain group. He's obviously not a checker. Does he deserve a top 6? But can you formulate a third line where he can kind of fit in? It's interesting, but certainly you want him on the team. Would he accept being on the team if he's not gonna play as an extra? Would he do that? I don't, almost like a Ryder Cup assistant captain kind of thing, where like the captain will bring in some of his buddies to kind of as a support, because no one's been better and more patriotic playing for Team USA than Patrick Kane in the last 20 years. He's the guy. He's the beacon. So if he wants to be there, wants to experiment, wants that sweater that eventually gets framed in his house, and absolutely, I think he should be a part of it if he wants to. And those are conversations you can easily have and get the temperature of.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of think the same thing. Marchand
still a point per game,
Canada, right? Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
he's probably on it, right?
He's on it because he's Crosby's wingman, and they can get a younger, maybe another guy to play with him. Try to pinpoint that one guy who will fit in. Remember the Bergeron, Marchand, Crosby line from the World Cup, and just try to find that other guy a little younger. But there's no doubt that Marchand and Crosby would pace themselves next season to peak for that tournament. No doubt about it. It would mean a lot to them. And Marchand's the kind of all-in guy you want on a team, no matter what kind of competition you're playing. And like I said, he's always been Crosby's wing guy. And so I don't see why they wouldn't do it again and then find that one other winger that they fit complements them the best. Some right-handed shot, awesome kind of winger who can be big and score. And who would that be in Canada? Like a right-handed shot guy that could
Stammer.
I was looking for a younger guy, like a little more pace, to try to help them out, support them with pace, and almost be like a Pasternak guy.
Let me ask you a question: is Braden Point a righty or a lefty?
Yeah, he's a righty.
Yeah, he's a righty. That's it. I like that.
He's on Team Canada. There's no world where he's not.
Yeah. We're thinking line mate though.
There's no world. I mean, that guy plays with as much pace as anyone. I mean, you know that I love the way that he plays. So look, a lot of intrigue. I mean, I think this is going to add a lot of fun to the season next year for NHL fans.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of
Yeah.
best on best. It's the only mark against Gary Bettman in his long career as NHL commissioner is the lack of best on best.
Yeah.
That's when you get international interest and casual interest. I'm really curious to see those ratings next year. How they compare to the All-Star game, how they even compare it to the Stanley Cup Final. Because we have some good time slots on ABC and ESPN and primetime stuff. You wonder would a USA. Here's a question. This is a fun little question, you guys. Do you do polls on the morning Cuppa hockey?
Yeah.
Like, what will rate more? A USA Canada Gold Four Nations game, prime time, Thursday night, February, whatever that is, or the next game, Edmonton, and will it be Stanley Cup numbers? Will it be 3 million American numbers?
I think, and
will
Vic,
it be 2?
Vic, put this in the chat so we can hear from everybody's opinion on this. I'll go first, Jonny.
This is Panthers Oilers. This isn't like a Blackhawk versus Penguins Stanley Cup Final.
USA versus Canada. USA versus Canada will outrate Stanley Cup Finals games this year. Now, but then the only caveat,
not a game 7. Because that would probably beat it. Yeah.
But the only thing that I've seen the US numbers, Butchie, but I don't know what the Canadian TV numbers are. I haven't seen those, but I think you would have the entire country. Like, I think it would be massive, a US Canada gold medal game on ABC and Sportsnet in Canada or whatever. Like, the ratings would outrate a Stanley Cup game, in my opinion, Jonny. I don't know what you think about it.
No, I fully agree, because with that too, I mean, I'm not a soccer fan, but I watch USA Soccer when they play, right? Like, I think it's a patriotic thing, So I think there's way more USA fans than there are Florida Panther fans. You know what I mean? So I think when you bring the whole country in, it probably should have better ratings. But again, like, not to knock or discredit this final, right? Like, I think,
it was more talk about the success of the Four Nations in February when we were in the middle of the hockey season, not like the last World Cup was in August. So maybe the players weren't really into it as much. And the fans not yet. The weather's still good. It's August. But now with a February, again, same month as an Olympic would be.
Awesome.
It's going to be really cool and good for the NHL and for the networks it'll be a good run through experiment to see, will this really pop? And if it does, they'll do another one right away. Like, they'll do it in the next year. This will become an annual thing, and especially if they get to keep all the revenue, and they don't have to give it to to the Olympics. So the more they can control, and if this thing really pops, and they're getting, like I said, 3-4 million people, that could be a game changer for the NHL calendar.
Yeah.
What I am wondering though, And granted, these things happen. You can't really control them. The February timing of it, I'm almost curious if it might be too close to a playoff push and how it might affect, some star players that are then playing April, May, June. I think in 2014, again, like I said, these things happen. It's not necessarily a guarantee, but like John Tavares gets hurt in Sochi.
Yeah,
Islanders playoff chances down the drain.
It's a risk,
so
no doubt.
Things like that, who is the Mets pitcher in like the baseball World Cup last year? Edwin Diaz got hurt and missed the whole season. These things kind of happen. There's gonna, if a fucking Toronto Maple Leaf gets hurt in this thing, you won't hear the end of it. And
listen, it doesn't matter. You could get hurt in an all-star game. You could get hurt in practice. That's you're not going to
take care of Austin for me.
You're not gonna sit on that. So look, again, lots to talk about. Excited, Butchie. We know you'll be all over it. We know you'll be a big part of it. And not only that, but another event in the next couple of weeks, Butchie, that you're going to have a big, hand in is the NHL Draft. We already talked about Celebrini, but, give us an idea. You're going to be boots on the ground in Vegas, correct?
At the Sphere. Yeah, looking forward to seeing the Sphere. Haven't seen that new building yet, so the draft is in the Sphere.
What have you heard? Like, is there going to be any cool elements? Is there going to be, what should we expect to see out of ESPN's coverage for the draft?
The only thing I've heard, it's really expensive to do the draft there. That's all I've heard. They charge a pretty penny. But yeah, in terms of
MSG prices.
In terms of how we're going to use the technology, obviously, I guess every day there they have a movie. I think they show like the landscape of America. People they pay $100 and they fill it at least once a day. They generate like a 1.5 million a day just from this movie where people pay $100 to watch and sit in their seats, and their seats vibrate and they move around a little bit, like whatever, in conjunction with what's happening on the screen. So yeah, I wonder how much, but I have not heard yet any kind of a rundown how they're going to incorporate the technology into the presentation, the telecast, for people who were there, the players who were there, and the parents, as of course, this is the last big NHL draft, as it's going to become centralized and look more like the other drafts. I don't know. I assume they're still going to go to arenas and stuff, and make it somewhat of a big deal that way. But obviously the gigantic organization, although they'll end up going somewhere else and not at the draft, which is kind of,
they'll be in their little war rooms like in the NFL. Exactly.
Yeah. It's good seeing everybody in one place. So that's the one time you see everybody in the hockey world. Nashville was great last year, just walking down the street. Hey, there's Kyle Dubas. There's Brendan Shanahan. There's Scott Mellenby, all kinds of people. So it was a great way to see people. But yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing what it looks like. I'm not sure yet, but we'll head there in the end of June. It's on a Friday night, first round Friday night, the 28th, and then the rest of the draft on the 29th.
I know you're a creative guy. Would you have any ideas as far as the production goes to make it look a little cooler and make it pop a little bit more? I mean, I feel like it's a given to have, feel like you're inside an aquarium when the sharks go up there for the first pick, right? Like have little sharks running around. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Now, how that translates on television, I'm sure it's way better there. So yeah, but again, how much does that cost? How much? Who do you pay to run that? And what's it? How much energy do they use every time they show a giant shark go across the top of the Sphere? What's your electric bill? So I don't know about that, but yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do to really make it pop and make it like no other draft ever. Quite frankly, let's face it. No real building like this before. Your local planetarium, was cool, but this is, a lot bigger than that.
Yeah. Well, look, I know we covered a lot today. We're going to get you out of here in a second, but the last thing I want to ask you about, because, I think you could potentially give us some insight on it. The Edmonton Oilers are in the Stanley Cup Finals right now. The NHL Draft is 2.5 weeks away. As it stands currently, their general manager, is not going to be their general manager next year. It's not a secret. So, do you have any idea what their succession plan is? Does Ken Holland have a plan? Has he been hamstrung by his team's run with his ability to go land one of these other GM jobs? Is he want to go play golf for the next couple of years? Like, what should we expect out of that situation? Because I know that, you and Ken are friends. You guys go on golf trips together. So maybe you have a little insight into, the way he's looking at this or thinking about it.
Yeah, I really think he's focused on the Stanley Cup run. He didn't want to talk to other teams while this was going on. I think whether it's karma or just he's old school that way, he's all in on Edmonton. Those things can take care of themselves. If for some reason there was a year off, he's fine. He could certainly do a consulting job with somebody. Those are easy, type of job. He's friends with Don Waddell. Maybe they find something little for him to be a support arm for him as he waits things out to see if there's anything out there. But so yeah, I think he's focused on the games and really would love to win that cup. And then from there, I'm sure things will start to happen for him, but he just doesn't want to, look for other jobs while this is going on. So, and as far as Edmonton, once Jackson came in and they obviously the power shift there and maybe they know in the back of their mind who they're going to hire, but I haven't heard anything on that front in terms of who they're going to give the keys to in terms of a GM. They got the big decisions coming up. Leon Draisaitl's in the last year of his deal next year. So I assume you have to offer the 8-year, $13 million cap number to see if he takes it, or whatever number you want to offer him. And then if he doesn't take it, do you trade him this summer? Because, you got a lot of value, or do you just run it for one more year and try to win the cup, knowing that he's going to walk away for nothing? And even though you don't really walk away for nothing in the salary cap world, you have that slot, but it's harder to get people to come to Edmonton. You have to overpay to get them to come there. So, and then McDavid has 2 years left after this year. So this is big. That's why these games, that's why they have so much pressure on them in these Stanley Cup playoffs, because the window does appear to be very small unless they both re-up. And hey, we're going to hang here. We're the kings of the hill here. We're the big dogs. We play in an unbelievable arena. It's maybe the best in the NHL. And once the season's going on, does it matter really where you live? You're grinding through a long season. You can always travel summer if you want to travel somewhere warm. So it'd be very interesting to see if they both re-up and just give it a long shot, or if this is the end of the run.
Well, I'm kind of curious, and this is my last question too. With that said, something I always think back to is when Nathan MacKinnon and the Avalanche lost to the Golden Knights, I think the year or 2 years before they ended up winning the cup, and Nate came out and said, I've been in this league 9 years. I haven't won shit,
Yeah,
right. And I think about these two teams, and while it would be incredibly fun to see Florida win, like with the guys in their team that, can party and have a great time, like Montour, Cousins, Lomberg, Tkachuk, these guys they're a fun group.
Good call.
They're a fun group. But on the flip side, I mean, Connor McDavid, I feel like just for his personality, Bucci, we talk about personalities, like for him to win one and finally have that weight off his shoulders, I think we need that because, he's a guy who, let's face it, he's not the happiest guy all the time, right? So
yeah, right.
The flip side of this, is it almost worse with Edmonton losing or better with what I'm trying to say here? It's hard to formulate the exact question.
Well, there's always great stories on both sides. That's why I really don't root for anybody. I know how much would it mean for Keith Tkachuk to have his family surname on the Stanley Cup, because that would be a moment for his dad and his granddad and of course his son. And Matthew knows this is about the family being on the cup, and it's not just him. It's not an individual award for him. He knows that his dad would love to see Tkachuk on the cup. And because of what it means for his dad, like I said, and grandfather, this is a blue collar family from the greater Boston area, and to have their name on the greatest trophy in sports, that's a family moment. So that really warms me to think about that. But you're right, whether it's Holland with winning the cup in a big FU to Edmonton on the way out the door, or it's like you said, McDavid, just entire body just relaxing, and he can just go out and let's play hockey now. Leon, the serious German, just fighting and fighting. So there's a million stories that everybody, and Chris Knobloch, he's set up for 10 years if he wins. He's still already probably set up anyway, but this gives him a 10-year runway of two contracts, like a Mike Sullivan runway, right? Mm-hmm. And so it just changes lives. That's what the great thing is, and both sides have a group of people where it really changes their lives more than others. But everyone, you can't tell me that the Stanley Cup wouldn't mean as much to Lomberg that it does McDavid, right? Same. Mm-hmm. He's a real dude and loves hockey as much as anybody. So, but yeah, those couple of those stories I focused on, the Tkachuk family and Holland and McDavid, and it's and Barkov's place in the game will really rise up. Now he can soar to the Hall of Fame, and so it's a great time. It's a great time and a great playoffs. And look, there's always stories.
Winning a cup for South Florida, you got to think about the effect that would have on youth hockey and growing hockey in a market where every NHL player right now wants to play. Just to build a brand new practice facility. I mean, look, I have friends down there that when Florida got good over the last 3 years, they've gotten themselves back into hockey. Like, they're playing men's league now, and now their kids are figure skating and they're ice skating. So there is a contagion that comes with being good and being exciting and winning, even in a place like, South Florida, where it's a non-traditional hockey market. Although 5 years in a row, Florida's in a cup final between the two teams.
And the East Coast League 3 in a row.
Exactly. So look, Butchie said it. Lots of storylines. The last thing I want to say, check out Butchie's shirt right now. He's wearing the Melrose t-shirt. I had mine on yesterday.
Cool.
The white ones are super soft. If you like soft t-shirts, the white one is incredibly soft. Vic is going to put the website in the chat right now, butchiot.com. If you buy the Melrose gear, it goes donated to the Michael J. Fox Parkinson's Research Foundation. Correct, Butchie? You definitely stop me if I'm wrong.
That's it.
So get on the website, support the cause. Hopefully we get some overtime games and we can all play some Butchie overtime challenges. People love that. And if you are playing, you don't win, go on and get a shirt. Get a Melrose shirt. Everybody loves Barry Melrose, right? There's no discourse there. Everybody loves Barry.
So yeah, sales have slowed. So I need your people. I need your audience to come on, give me a couple pops. I got nothing to do. I can go to the post office. I'll mail it today, right out today, and you'll get it quickly. So I appreciate the help. And yeah, he's a great man and in a tough fight. And we miss him and love him. And they did a great job. And he's a legend. I mean, he's a legend. No eyes, no nose, no ears, and you know it's him. That's when you're a legend.
You posted that photo on social media like 3 weeks ago now of him wearing the shirt, and I reposted. I can't tell you how many messages I got from people saying this made my day, and mine too. I mean, it's so. All right, we kept you too long. We always do. You know that. We never keep you for the time we say. It's always 2 or 3 times. So we appreciate it, Butchie. Enjoy the games. Let's hope for overtime. Get on the website, get the Melrose t-shirts, and support one of the best causes that you can support. All right, bud. Go play golf and hit the gym. Have a good day.
Thanks, Bucci.
You got it.
Love it. Me and Vic were doing that before we hopped on the show today. We were flexing our muscs.
You guys quit that shit when I came in. So.
Yeah, we always have fun. Then Colby pops in, and it's like, oh, fuck. But good get. He's the best. Way to go, Colby. Good job.
They just, look, with Butchie, he has he follows the game in so many sort of varieties. I think with ESPN, a lot of the people that do ESPN do a lot of other things. They don't have all in to hockey, right? And so
the way he explains it, he talks hockey in such a different way. And
he loves hockey, whether it's college hockey, whether the U18s are on, whether the World Championships are on. Like he's got it on his TV. So always love his opinion, respect his opinion, and good to hear him on. Go to butchiot.com and get a Melrose shirt. They really are like very soft, good beach t-shirts, good wear around the house t-shirts. You can actually see over my shoulder on my shelf. I have the print. He sent me a print of the logo of Barry. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I see that. Yep.
So it really is such a great logo. So just to answer a question in the chat from Howie Feeling, who's going to be at the draft? Look, Nation Network, Frank will be at the draft. We will have some shows at the draft. Jonny and I are still working that out. We don't know for sure if we will be at the draft doing shows live that week or not. Regardless, we will have our shows running through the end of the month. And as the month rolls along, we'll start to update you guys on, the schedule for the summer and everything. We're not going to go away fully, we promise you, but we're still kind of working, through the details of how it's going to look. The other thing, give us a like on the episode. We had a lot of new subscribers from our show yesterday. A lot of people commented that they were new subscribers, even people who didn't agree with us. I tried to go on and answer some of the comments and reply. We love that you don't agree with us. We love the discourse. We love when you come in the chat and you tell us why we're wrong, or you tell Jonny why he's a donkey. Donkey of the day, I think they called you on Oilers Nation.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate all the support as of late. It's been building. It's been great. Throw the like, throw the subscribe on the DFO YouTube page. It really does go a long way for us. Today was a little bit of a different show for us, Jonny, just because there is no game tonight. There wasn't a game. Go ahead.
What'd you make of Bucci's 4-Game 7 comment?
Look,
I thought that was very me. That was very Jonny of him.
It was, but he's so much more eloquent in the way that he explains things that,
if I said that, I'd sound like an idiot, but he said
I'm so much more willing. I'm so much more willing to listen to his eloquence in the way that he communicates it where you would have been fumbling all over it,
Yep.
asking me to wait and work with you and hear me out. And, you would have been
crazy.
You would have just backed yourself right into a corner.
Which I'm doing again right now.
Exactly. Like you always do. You don't know how to take a graceful win. You got to always ruin it. You know, you always,
you know how hard I was biting my tongue to not bring up that you picked Demko over McKinnon. When we were talking about Demko.
I also think that Demko will be on that. If it will be 100%. On that, like, I think Ottinger is probably the odd man out, in my opinion. I didn't really weigh in while we were talking about that, but I actually think Ottinger is probably the odd man out.
Wow.
So look, we'll see what happens. Health, a lot of time until then. It's not till February. So, they're going to want to take guys that are playing really well at the time. And we don't, we can't predict that. And you wonder about some of these goalie tandem splits. We'll see if Linus Ullmark's still a Bruin, Swayman maybe sharing the net.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at some of the comments. Believe it or not, we got people saying Hansley's way said draft Jonny one-way ticket to Vegas. No way, he's back home. I'm not a big Vegas guy. I'm not. It's not
that's surprising to me. I could see you at a pool party at like
I'm not a club
person. At like
club person.
At like Wet Republic or rehab, one of those pool parties doing fist.
That is so not me at all. So
you
not
get
me.
A nice fade haircut and start pumping your fist.
The fade is me, but I'm not a club guy. So Vegas is not like I gotta get to it's never been really.
You don't think Vegas would be good for your dating life?
I think it'd be the worst possible thing for my dating life.
Okay. All right.
But sorry, we got a little off topic there from the comments. Anything else like on your mind or that you wanted to bring up? There's one more thing aside from hockey before we get into Betway that I would want to bring up if that's allowed with you, Colby.
What may that be?
Well, no, I know we have a lot of Jewish supporters of our show. I'm Jewish, you're Jewish, and I wanted to say that I am going to the Nova exhibit in New York City today, which is a music festival exhibition about the remembrance of October 7th. I'm not going to say like any more of that, but I know there are some people I'm sure that are interested in what this exhibit is, and would be happy to talk about it more off air with anyone who's interested in hearing about it and whatnot. But I will be attending that today, so just wanted to put that out there. Don't want to get political or anything or talk about.
No, you're not being political. It's a good thing, and I'm sure it'll be very emotional, and I'm sure you and I will talk about it after. And hard to switch gears from that, but I am going to go back to hockey for a second because I want to address our guy in the chat, Sergei Bobrovsky.
The real him.
It's the real him. I mean, and he's not been happy with us. Okay. Like he's been upset with the way that we've talked about Florida and, the way that I think he feels like maybe we've disrespected Florida. And look, I just don't agree with your anger levels. And here's the other thing I want to tell you. We have made so many attempts to get Florida people on this show that cover the Florida Panthers with absolutely zero luck. It's been probably the most difficult team to get someone to come on. Would you agree with that, Jonny? Of all the teams that we, reached out and asked and people we know and so we've had a really difficult time finding people that can and are willing to come on the show from the Panthers. So, Sergey, we're sorry that you feel like the coverage has been a little heavy-handed, but there are also probably 30 quotes you could steal off the last 30 episodes of the show where we anointed Florida as the best team in the NHL for large periods of time this season. And
the amount that we have hyped up Gustav Forsling since like February, and it's caught on nationally, but I got to shout out my family friend, Gary Tucker, diehard Panthers fan. He's been texting me every fucking day. Please talk about Forsling since January. And we've kind of been doing it. We put it off originally, but also the thing with Florida, you have to understand too, like from a news standpoint, Florida is very good. There's not like much. They're a complete team. There's not much to really break down or discuss. Like Edmonton is the team right now, down 2-0. They have the best player in the world. There's more to talk about on that side. Is there not? Like Florida plays such a perfect game with not many holes. Like, what the fuck are you really going to talk about?
They're just like so boringly
so
good at everything.
What are you going to talk about?
You know, they're just so boringly good at everything. And hey, in the chat, we've asked Goldie to come on, and we both know Goldie. He's really busy. You know, Goldie doesn't just do Panthers. Goldie does CBS Sports News. Goldie does Miami Dolphins coverage. Like, Goldie is a busy guy. He's a hustler. He's running around. Today he's on his way to Edmonton. We saw on his Twitter. I did reach out to him, and I know he's flying right now, so he probably won't see it for a couple of hours. But
Colby.
But I do think that, you know, we did ask him, and we are trying to get Goldie to come on the show tomorrow. I don't have any idea how successful we will be. What's up, Johnny?
Hi 12377 said, what about Sean Thornton? It's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, so, you know, Thordy works in the business ops of the team, and I'll just tell you this: I've said a couple of things in the last couple of years that apparently have pissed him off, because I've heard it from other teammates.
All right,
and I remember when I think it was a couple of years ago, somebody put the receipt from the 2011 Stanley Cup party that we had at the I forget which place we were at in Connecticut. It was at the casino in Connecticut at the club. I don't remember the name. And they put that receipt out, and I quote tweeted and said, I can confirm that this is real. And apparently that really pissed him off, and he just felt like I should just be quiet and not say anything. So I don't think that Thordy is super fond of me and my opinions and things. So I've thought about that. But I don't foresee that happening. And then the other guy that would be awesome would be, you know, Soupy would be Greg Campbell, but you know, he's the assistant GM. He's not the most talkative guy, very serious. Like, I don't foresee him being, you know, wanting to do any media ever, to be honest. An awesome guy though. I mean, an awesome guy. You know, got to sit next to him on some plane rides actually in the finals, because you know, when Horton got hurt and he wasn't traveling, the plane seats kind of shifted around. Before I had been sitting with Tim Thomas, and then they were like, hey, Tim needs his own too now because he's in the zone. And so yeah, I know that's a good suggestion. But
Tommy T says to squash the beef live on the show.
There is I don't think there's actual beef. Like, I honestly, Thordy was awesome to be around. Like, he really was. So I think I'm just like not his cup of tea, which is kind of normal for me, actually. You know, you either love me or you hate me. There's very few in-betweeners when it comes to me. So
I'm an in-betweener for sure.
So hopefully we can get Goldie tomorrow. If not, we'll pivot. We'll try to get someone else. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at game 3. You know, we'll hopefully have some sort of an update. You know, obviously it'll be pretty early in the morning in Edmonton, so we won't know exactly who's out on the ice for pregame skate. I've seen a lot of rumors about Barkov, whether he is or is not playing. Johnny, what do you think? You think we will see Sasha Barkov in game 3?
I think he plays with the bubble on.
So are you saying you think he broke his jaw? Is that what you're saying?
That's what it looked like. I mean, I haven't heard anything, but from everything I've seen and just watching the hit, that's what he was holding, right? Like, you know, I would expect him to play with a bubble on. I don't see a guy like Barkov sitting out for a game. And if he does sit out for a game, it could change the entire course of the series.
Yeah. Well, look,
what do you think?
If he broke his jaw would already have to be wired shut. You know, and I think that if that were the case,
didn't Chara break his jaw in the cup and wore
he played. But I think we would already know about it if he broke his jaw and his jaw got wired shut and he had to go see a surgeon and this and that. And like, I do know that the team didn't travel till today. Okay.
Really?
So Florida is flying today. And Paul Maurice said that it was because they wanted an extra night in their own homes and in their own bed. Look, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm going to be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist.
I don't like that
right now. If that is true, or maybe they needed an extra day to wait for Barkov. Maybe Barkov had to get his jaw wired and they had to wait an extra day to travel. Again, I have no information on that. I am just throwing that out there. I'm just creating a conspiracy theory. I don't even know if I'm just thinking about why they would do that. And look, normally you don't travel in till the day before, so maybe they just want to stick with their normal routine. I think that's completely possible as well. But I can tell you this: in 2011, our group traveled the day we would travel, the next day, and then we'd get up there and we'd have a practice the next day. So, every team can be different. Every coach is different. Every group is different. So, look, we'll see what happens. And
I don't like that they travel or that they're traveling today. I don't like that at all.
Let me say something else to you too. I was thinking about this last night as I was reading a lot of comments, and people in the chat, feel free to get active on this one and weigh in. People are like, oh, it's going to be open season on this player and that player now. And look, nobody's ever advocating for open season on anybody, right? But here's the thing. And again, I'm pulling from my own experience here of watching my teammates. Again, I did not play in the finals. I was a healthy scratch. I practiced, I bag skated, I sat in the meetings. I was in, but I didn't play for the 60 minutes a night of the game. I didn't play, but I witnessed like brutality from both of these two teams, like literal brutality between Vancouver and Boston, right? Guys spearing each other, biting each other, licking each other, punching each other in the nose, 2 hands on the wrist. I mean, dude, winning the Stanley Cup is really difficult. It's brutally physical. It's brutally hard. And when I'm seeing all these people freaking out over every little thing, like, take a deep breath. This is what it's supposed to look like. Okay. We just got word that Barkov is practicing today. Okay. On the ice, practicing. So chances are he's playing. All right. Which is what we thought anyway. All right. And but all I want to say to people is you never should be advocating for someone to be injured. Things happen in hockey. Okay. I do not think that Leon Draisaitl said, let me go injure Sasha Barkov. Did he say, let me try to hurt him here? Let me try to put a little extra oomph in this hit? Sure. But we all break these things down, right? And we make it sound so simple. And I do it too. The game is so fast, okay? You are making decisions in hundredths of seconds, in 1 second, in less than a second. Just try to remember that as these things happen and these things take place, throughout the playoffs. But it's going to be mean and nasty. That's what hockey is. It's the hardest trophy to win in sports. Sorry, Johnny. I had to go on that little rant. It's been bothering me because I've seen a lot of the comments. I've seen a lot of the discourse. It's fun. It is fun. And it's fun to argue and it's fun to have a point of view, but none of us are advocating for injuries. But like even the guy, when Ekblad was squeezing Bouchard, like some people wanted the death penalty for that. Who are we kidding here? All right. Let's remember what we're watching here. That's all I will say.
No. I did see that. Which I thought that discourse was nuts. I don't think Ekblad
it's also from other fans.
I was going to kill him.
Johnny, it's also from like the Rangers fans and the Bruins fans and Larry Brooks has been unhinged on Twitter with the things that he's been saying. I mean, it's like, it's crazy that these teams and these fans that are out are like, they're still so angry and they're coming for guys. And one guy said, I hope, Barkov slashes Draisaitl and breaks his wrist in half. Listen, Barkov plays the game pretty heavy and hard. He whacks and hacks, and so does everybody. It's how to win a Stanley Cup. All right, I promise I'm done.
No, you're good. I'm actually just trying to update Twitter and see if Barkov is wearing a bubble or not. Because I know everyone's saying he's on the ice, but no one's saying if he's in a bubble or in his normal visor or half shield or whatever. But Colby, you want to get into Betway?
Yeah, let's get into Betway. And I love how Olivia is constantly a voice of reason in our chat. We are watching a physical game. It's going to be physical. It's why we love to watch it. She's a voice of reason for us in our chat. She chimes in once in a while, and it's always a voice of reason. So, let's just enjoy what we have here. I think the physicality and the hatred is great. I hope this series continues to be a little bit of a tea kettle. I think game 3, we could see an explosion, and I think that's going to be must-see TV. So
can I make a hot take?
What'd you say?
I give a hot take.
Sure.
I think Edmonton scores in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Okay. Listen, I want to see this become a tight series. I do not see a way Florida loses this series at this point, but I want to see the series tighten up, and I want the physicality to continue, and I want the heavy plays to continue, and I want to see, all of it. I want it all. I'm selfish. I want all of it. I'm not allowing the Stanley Cup final to leave a box unchecked. So, all right.
Do have
now,
a Panther update quick though, Colby.
Yeah.
Jameson Olive, who does a great job covering the team, probably the go-to guy that covers the Panthers. Actually, I could ask him to come on tomorrow if we can't get Goldie or whatnot. But he just said Tarasenko's not skating today. Not sure if it's maintenance or whatever, but something to look at too. So Nick Cousins right now is slotted back in the lineup for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Tarasenko's been good in that third line. So
I got into this yesterday with Frank. Not got into it, but he asked me who I thought should have been GM of the year because Jim Nill won GM of the year, and I just can't believe Zito didn't win GM of the year. And I went down a list, and I actually have it still because I still have my notes from yesterday's show. Why I believe Zito should have won GM of the year, and you go back to last July 1. Jonny, where GMs normally make poor decisions and they overpay on players, right? Look what Bill Zito did on July 1 last year in free agency. He gets Nico Mikkola for $2.5 million. He gets Oliver Ekman-Larsson for $2.25 million. He gets Kulikov for $1 million. All right. He gets Evan Rodriguez for 3 times 3. He gets Tarasenko at the trade deadline. He gets Okposo at the trade deadline. He locks up Forsling, 8 years at $5.75 million, best contract in the NHL at this point. He solidifies the goaltending position with Anthony Solares at $1.1 million. Like, you look at those moves, you look at the heaviness that he brought in, whether it was the trade deadline or whether it was last July 1 on free agency. That is one of the reasons Florida is so good. Look at who's scoring right now for them. You've got Erod scoring goals, Mikkola scored goals, but how big, strong, and heavy have that decor been for the Florida Panthers? That has been the biggest strength of their team, in my opinion. And again, it's you're splitting hairs because they're so well-rounded, but like, how does Zito not win GM of the year with all of those moves? Like, I mean, again, nothing from Jim Nill, but like, find me someone who did better work to put his team in a place to win a Stanley Cup than Zito. I just don't. To me, I was a little bit surprised.
No, I fully agree. I have no rebuttal, no argument. It's a good point.
I'm reading one of the chat, some of the comments from the chat. So, all right, look, I know we were about to wrap the show 10 minutes ago.
I did just make a bet with Jeremiah. I bet him $5 that the Oilers scored in the first 2 minutes. So I'll have to get Jeremiah's Venmo on Friday morning, I guess, if I don't hit that. So we're making side bets here on Morning Cup of Hockey this morning, which is a segue for Betway.
Good news out of Florida. Barkov is skating. Barkov good to go. Game 3 is going to be awesome. We'll be back here tomorrow. We're hoping to have Goldie or someone from Florida on tomorrow. No promises. We do got to get to Betway where we're going to take a look at some odds for the Conn Smythe. But don't forget, Betway still offering a free $200 bet. On your first bet, scan the QR code on your screen, create a new account, throw that bet in on whatever it is you want, as much or as little. They'll reimburse you up to $200. Get involved. Only available outside of Ontario. Please play responsibly as always. Don't be irresponsible like we know Jonny can be at times.
I hate when
let's take a look at the outright winner. I just say that because I know Karen is sometimes listening, and I want to make sure she stays on top of you about your betting habits. So let's look at the outright winner odds for the Conn Smythe right now. And look, here's what I would say. Bob, obviously the guy who's in the lead, but we're a long ways away from this being over. And I think obviously Bobrovsky deserves to be in the lead, but there's a lot of value right now on Barkov at plus 450. I mean, that is a lot of value because, people could sit there and there could be goals over these next couple of games, and people could sit there and say, look, Bob was good, but he doesn't face any high danger chances. Barkov did this, he led his team, or he had a ton of points, he scored a couple of big goals, whatever. So I think there's good value right now in Barkov on that plus 450, Johnny. I don't know. I mean, I'm not as big a gambler as you are, but I think
Vic and I were saying Carter Verhaeghe also.
I think that's pretty good value, and on a couple of those other guys, and you can never go wrong at taking a shot on a futures bet on McDavid, because you just never know what he could be capable of over the next couple of games. So good value there. We appreciate all the conversation in the chat today. Sergey, I don't know how you do it. You practice and you're live in our chat at the same time. You are an impressive guy with how well you've played and how sharp you are in the chat. So we love that and we appreciate that. And for everybody else, I think we'll be back here tomorrow, Johnny, and we'll get ready for Game 3 tomorrow, and we'll try to hear from some different people. And other than that, Johnny, I don't know if you want to say something else. Looks like you're reading something interesting.
Yeah, I just got an email from the Capitals about their press release about Cap Friendly. Statement from Brian McClellan on the Capitals reaching an agreement to acquire Cap Friendly. The agreement will provide the club with data infrastructure and onboarding of talented individuals to bolster the Caps hockey operations department. The website will continue to run independently until the transaction closes, anticipated to occur in early to mid-July. So only a couple more weeks of Cap Friendly.
And I've seen, look, I know Singsy, I haven't seen him in the chat today. He understands a lot of this data stuff outside of hockey, and he's had some interesting tweets over the last couple of days talking about why they would want Cap Friendly, and it's not just for salary information on other players. It's having a system and a data system that you can work with and grow and build is, I think, why they want it. I also saw the reports, Johnny, about how the NHL hates Cap Friendly and it was a bad relationship. And I don't understand why Gary Bettman, and why the league is so against that, because people love it. It makes hockey fans more involved, more in the game.
Knowledgeable.
It's something that I do not agree with the NHL's stance and position on, because again, I think that helps literally to grow your game, to have people have these functions and be able to do these things, to embed them more into trade deadline, free agency, cap management, playoff rosters, all of these different things, contract management. So I very much disagree with the league on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, I guess that's a conversation we can have another day when it gets closer to losing Cap Friendly publicly. But that's all I really got today, Colby. We'll preview Game 3 tomorrow. The chat was awesome today. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
If you haven't liked this episode, like the episode. That way I can tell Butchie, hey, this was our most liked episode of all time. So now you're going to need to do regular appearances on our show. And that's something we've talked to some people about for next year, is doing a regular spot. Obviously, Frank is our Tuesday morning guy. Maybe we find a good Thursday morning spot, especially next year in the playoffs, if we go to 5 days a week, which we are talking and discussing about. So give us a like on the episode, subscribe to the DFO YouTube page. I will be on today on Daily Faceoff Live with Tyler Yaremchuk. Frank ran into massive travel issues yesterday, so he's reattempting to travel to Edmonton today. I feel like the NHL should just do a charter for media and make this a lot easier. They have done things like that in the past, at least TV networks. But give us the like, give us the subscribe. Check out DFO's YouTube page at 12 noon. We'll be talking about a lot of wide variety of things within the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NHL. Vic, you were on the money today, as you always are. You never take a day off like we know Johnny does sometimes. Hit butchieot.com, get your Barry Melrose swag. Money goes to the Michael J. Fox Parkinson's Research Foundation. I want to get a text from Butchie later today that we had some people who bought some stuff. We want to keep yielding the power of this show. We've done a great job with Out West, Proraso. You guys are awesome with this stuff. You support the brands that support us. That stuff goes a long way. So, Johnny, I want you to have yourself a nice day in New York City. I don't know what you got planned. Maybe you got a roller.
I literally told you what I'm doing. I told the entire show.
a rollerblading date.
I literally said I'm going to the Jewish exhibition.
I know, but like maybe like after that, you're not going there for the next 16 hours.
No, I got a roller hockey game tonight, so I got to gear up for my own game later.
Okay. Start hydrating. Okay.
Yeah,
and do me a favor. Be safe when you go to that thing. Keep your eyes up. You know, there's a lot of ugliness happening outside of that exhibit right now. So just, be diligent with what you're looking around, and, don't have your head buried in your cell phone like you normally do when you watch a hockey game. All right.
Yeah. I won't be tweeting a 13-minute Alexi Lafreniere highlight video while I'm there. I don't know. Do you even see that? I don't even know if you saw that yesterday. I
did not see that.
Okay. Well, don't go look. But thank you, everybody. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic